This episode of The Entrepreneurs on Monocle Radio is brought to you by Hong Kong Science and Technology Parks Corporation. As the city's leading global innovation and technology ecosystem, HKSTP is a hub of innovation with worldwide impact. It nurtures the success of 13 unicorns and empowers over 24,000 innovators within its dynamic community of over 2,300 tech ventures from 25 countries. By connecting bold ideas with global opportunities, HKSTP helps shape and facilitate the future through collaboration. Discover what's next in Hong Kong today. Visit hkstp.org to learn more. Hello and welcome to The Entrepreneurs on Monocle Radio, the show all about inspiring people, innovative companies and fresh ideas in global business. On today's programme, we're switching gears and moving into the fast lane with a Formula One team principal to hear about his philosophy on leadership and building a winning culture on and off the track.
We're no different to any other company in the world, in my opinion. We race on TV and in front of 70 million people. But actually, at the firm of it, you want exactly the same thing. You want proper foundation structures, systems, processes, wrapped in data. And people are the most important thing that you can be investing in. And that's no different to any business that I know outside of that.
This is The Entrepreneurs, with me, Tom Edwards. You're listening to The Entrepreneurs. My guest today needs little introduction to the millions of Formula One fans who've followed his illustrious career, from leading race strategy and helping steer Mercedes to multiple championship victories, to taking the helm at Williams in 2023, where he played a key role in securing Carlos Sainz to race for the team. I'm talking, of course, about James Vowles, team principal of Atlassian Williams Racing. In June, James signed a new long-term contract with the team. He made a quick pit stop at Midori House amid his packed racing schedule to discuss the team's progress, his approach to decision-making, and how long-term thinking drives success, whether in Formula One or other high-performance environments. James began by telling me why now was the right time for both him and for the team to make that extended commitment.
We've put a tremendous amount of investment in since I've joined, and it's really important I can't stress that enough. And from my own personal perspective, this is the first time I've been a team principal. So there was a challenge on both sides. And I think we're at a good period of time where we started to lay the foundations for Williams for our future. And it's starting to bear fruit, which is what we can see this year. I love it to bits, but I'm not here to be finishing 5th or 6th or 8th. I'm here to be fighting for world championships. And this is really now marking that the next part of our journey is to do that. It's not a one-year journey. It's a very long-term prospect in front of us in order to get everything absolutely right. But I think from both sides, it's absolutely gelling and working. And this is the right time to ink the deal and say, are we both happy to do this? It's going to be tougher. Yep. Let's do it.
Well, let's talk toughness, because one of the interesting things about, I guess, turning around or restructuring a culture from settling to settling for nothing but the best is about breaking everything. And if you go back to the remarks you made in 23, I guess, when you took the job, you said we're going to break everything. Yeah. How's that going? Is it as expensive as it sounds?
I didn't mean the car, but we broke the car quite a few times as well. But it did everything that I hoped it would, though, because it changed a mentality and a mindset. Not overnight, but it has done across a very short period of time. We're no different to any other company in the world, in my opinion. Yeah, we race on TV and in front of 70 million people. But actually, at the firm of it, you want exactly the same thing. You want proper foundation structures, systems, processes, wrapped in data. And people are the most important thing that you can be investing in. And that's no different to any business that I know outside of that. And so when we spoke about break everything, when you have that, people are so afraid of change sometimes that you stay very much within the boundaries of where you are. Or even if you pushed, you move a little bit outside the boundaries. We had to completely tear it up and start again. And to get that journey there has required some different thought process. But we are now doing all of those things I've just spoken about. We have some incredible people who will work tirelessly day and night for me. We have a culture that's fantastic there. And onto your sentiment analysis, that's what I fell in love with Williams. We have a heritage that's nearly bar none in our sport. I mean, I know we haven't had success for a long time, but we're still the third most successful, top 3 most successful teams in the sport. And I'm fortunate to have that at the back, but I don't want to rely on that. That's just a lovely thing in the background that attracted me towards this organisation. What I want is to create something that's unique in our arena that forces people to turn their head twice and look at us again, and we're on that journey.
You mentioned the H word, heritage there. Is there a tension, James? And I know because you're also, you're a student of F1 history, and as you said, it's only the third principal, I think, of Williams in 40 plus years. It's pretty amazing. How do you balance heritage then with this need for relentless change and innovation? Because I guess some people would say, look, those values are oppositional or at least in tension. Is there a tension there? Is it a healthy tension? How do you navigate it?
I think there was a tension there when I joined. We've got rid of it. We often will look back into the past, and with rose-tinted glasses in reality, and it's probably one of the worst things you can ever do. I'll give you a little bit about our sport and then I'll answer the question. We're trying to get someone's idea from their head to the car in about 6 weeks. That's the turnaround. Most engineering firms would be years, multiple years, maybe 5 years. 6 weeks. And because that's the rate of development, we're trying to bring updates and performance to our car every few races in order to keep basically moving forward relative to the field. And you can see how we've done that. We've moved forward to a point in the last few where we're starting to compete further up. The rate at which you do that defines how successful you are in our sport. So going back to your point, if you hold on to what you thought a year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago, you're that far out of date. And it is around a culture of continuous improvement and around a culture of failure is okay, because we're running right on the leading edge and we're going to fail a tremendous amount. And the really important bit is how you take that learning and reapply it back into what you do in a positive way, not in a negative way. So our heritage, our history is something that makes me proud. But none of that will allow us to win races in the future. It's simply there as a strength to our company.
And tell me how you incorporate experiences of great leaders with whom you've collaborated, people for whom you've worked. We've had Toto on Monocle Radio before, people like Ross Brawn. These are stellar names. With that idea of constantly looking forwards, how do you, process and assimilate the learnings from them, James, into your own unique way of doing things? Do you have to be very conscious and intentional about it? Or do you just have to trust that best practice, certain principles, you kind of soak up by almost an osmotic process as you go through your career? How does that work?
So I completely agree. I've had the fortune of working alongside some brilliant individuals. Ross, Toto, you've named two of them. David Richards, actually, before that as well. They all have their different strengths. No one of them is the same as the other, as any human beings are also different to each other. So first of all, I haven't changed who I am. Who I am at my core is me. But what I've done is I've seen some capabilities within all of them. Ross, brilliant at bringing the right people together in the room and then letting them talk. Toto, fantastic at using very few words to direct so many people. Very strong way of presenting himself, very clear, eloquent, uses humour in a great way. But I'm neither of those two. I've just absorbed and gathered. There was a conversation Toto and I had once where we were having a conversation, it was by phone. I said, look, Toto, you have to understand, I'm not you. We're different, but that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. And actually, in time, he and I came to learn how to use those differences in order to make a stronger opinion, because that's the reality behind it. So answering your question, I was guided by some very strong individuals. And what I learned from them was this. First and foremost, direction is often more important than the answer you provide. In other words, a lack of direction and going around in circles is pretty poor. And often people are afraid of taking decisions. I'm not. I have no fear of doing that whatsoever at all. I'll look you in the eyes and say they're not always going to be exactly the right ones, but we're probably on the right pathway together. That's one thing I definitely learned from my time there. The second is that how you deal with poor performance and failure defines you. That's absolutely a key part of it. And that has to be integral to your core. The other element of things, and this didn't come from either Toto or Ross, it actually came from Michael Schumacher, is the way you get the most out of people is really simple. You just need to care about them. And it can't be a falsified care. You actually need to actually really care about those individuals. And I do. Everyone that gives up every hour of their day for me, I'm hugely appreciative of, because they could be spending that minute with their family or putting their child to bed. And they're not. They're with me by my side as we work towards building this team up into a championship material. And that will buy infinite respect with me.
If you've got a team of 1,000 or whatever it might be, I don't know the exact numbers, but it's in that ballpark. How do you make sure that you're communicating in that way, with that intimacy, with that humanity, James? Because, there are only so many hours in the day. You've just mentioned at the top, people are spread far and wide around the world often. How can you make the time? Or is it about a different kind of expression? Because that challenge, that complexity must be very difficult to deal with.
A little bit of everything. So these are all individual to every person. So I'll tell you what I do. I'll write an email to the whole factory 3 times a week. I will, to everyone, after every race, go downstairs and just make sure we just do a team talk together and have a chat about all. That's everyone that's invited. Doesn't mean we have 1,100. Everyone's on shifts, but it's a good number, probably 500, 700. We'll do meetings with the whole company once a month to make sure we're just talking through what's going on. I will have, and these are brilliant, I'll have lunches with just a number of individuals from organisation, but here's the key to it. They have to be from all over the organisation brought together in the room, because that's the real trick behind it. You get people who've never met other people in this 1,100 business talking to each other, and that's where the real magic happens. I will just randomly wander around the factory and just meet people, and that's where you get the real insights as to what's going on. And that I need to do more of. I recognise I could do even more of that again. And you find time in your day, because ultimately those minutes that you spend, every single time I've done it, I've learned more than when I've been sat in my office piling through emails that I think are important.
Let's talk about people in a slightly different context, because of course, and this is getting a bit sport away from the business much, but if we look at the Carlos Sainz hire, this was a guy that, as I understand it, could have potentially joined, one of the other big works teams. Incredible talent. And again, it was really arresting what he said when he joined you guys. And he said, I get James's vision. I completely get it. Now, I guess all drivers would say that, right? But it struck me as being really true. Tell me a little bit about that moment, because the relationship with the driver is obviously key. They're a fundamental part of this machine that's driving towards victory. It was a coup for you guys to get him, but it was also a meeting of, I think, ambition. How did that come about, and how did you communicate your vision with such clarity to him?
I mean, it was a long journey with Carlos. The first time I spoke to him and his family was December 23. So before I had any knowledge that anything was going to particularly happen to him, unfortunately. It did at Ferrari, but it created opportunity for me. And then our journey really began around about February, March 24 onwards. It's really fair to say that I'd be on the phone to either him or his father, but mostly him, once every 2 days, once every 3 days. We'd be meeting at the track. He's got a fantastic number of individuals around him that I highly rate and respect. One is his cousin, who's also called Carlos Sainz, and his father, who's also called Carlos Sainz. So although as much as I take the mickey out of them, they are right in saying that everyone in my company is called James. So
okay.
It's fair play.
So you met in the middle.
We met in the middle. But what we did was this. What I laid out and remember this is quite early on, before we've really done much in 24, and we certainly haven't done anything in 25, is lay out, this is what's wrong. These are the bad bits, all the bad bits. I'll lay it all out to you as I know it and as I see it right now. And you may not come to me, so I'm giving away information. Here is all the bad bits. This is the steps I am doing and we are doing over the next 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, plus, in order to rectify and fix all of it. Here's the investment. This is why we're investing. This is where we're investing. This is why it's different. But this is why I believe in it. Now, you can do that to an individual over, weeks and probably convince them that you're doing the right thing. But this was across 6 months. Remembering he didn't sign until about 6 months after that point. And in 6 months, you can't hide everything. And what he realized is he and I are actually very similar. We're incredibly performance driven. We're incredibly honest, authentic. Everything at our core is what we say, is what we do. We get on with it. Simple as that. We deliver on what we do as well. All the individuals I said, these people are coming towards me. They're top tier individuals. They came towards us. Everyone that we're investing in, have a look at this. This is what we're doing. This is where our performance will change. But by the way, the focus won't be there. Everything we did transpired. And across 6 months, he had the opportunity to see that it's not fictitious. And by the way, this isn't the exciting bit. The exciting bit comes and the real investment kicks in 12, 24 months. But that's what brought him on the journey, because he could tell that actually what he wanted to do as well in himself is be a part of a transformative experience where he's at the core of it, and he is with us. I needed a leader next to my side, so me, Alex, and him effectively driving this forward. I need an individual who's not just fast in the car. There's quite a few individuals who are fast in the car, but I need someone who actually understands what it takes to make a championship team and wants to be a part of it. And that resonated with him, and that's really what gelled us together.
And that's pretty powerful, because I guess the transformation, that journey, is as compelling for some characters, isn't it? As maybe people would like to parachute in and be the winner, switch, stay the winner. But there's something about going on the journey, which is actually more commonly discussed in team sports. Obviously, this is a team sport, but we put these individuals on a pedestal. But it's interesting and reassuring, maybe to a degree, that there's so much bombast and big characters. There are people who are fascinated by that process and not just by the like, show me what you got or what's the paycheck. They're interested in the mechanics. It's almost more of it's an engineer's approach, maybe almost.
You're spot on. So first of all, if I had to say who I am as a character, I get not bored easily, but I have to feel like I'm challenged every single day. I get frustrated if I haven't learned something or developed myself or developed something around me pretty much daily. And that's what drives me on. That's why.
It must be a nightmare to live with, James.
Yeah. Fortunately, Rachel's not here, but it's
that's a sequel. That's the follow-up.
Exactly. But
what do you do if that doesn't work? Then, if you get that frustration and it is just coursing away under the surface, and obviously in your sport in particular, there's so many opportunities to get irritated. What's the process? Do you have to get zen? You're very focused, but how do you? Because you've got to give yourself a break. Maybe you need to get yourself out of that frenzy. How do you do it?
I haven't. So there's nothing that we as Williams are not in control of. This is how I would define it. There's nothing blocking us. Yeah, there's regulating bodies, but you work to those rules. We have finance, we have structure, we have people around us. There's nothing that we're not in control of, in my opinion. And therefore, there's nothing for me to get frustrated with because I'd be disappointed if there isn't things to change every day. And I assure you, in Williams, I love our company to bits, but there's a lot to change. There's a lot to keep working through. So fear not going to be bored for a while. What it does mean is it's more in a personal context. On holiday, it takes me ages to shut down, as you would probably imagine as a result of that. But Carlos is something very similar to that. What I mean by that is he's data-driven. I'm having a chat with him about what he does in his future. But I think he's got a really great future as a leader of one of these organizations in time. He's got a really good way of bringing together incredibly, incredibly intelligent engineers and align everyone to the same goal. And that's really, if you had to summarize my job, that's all I'm doing.
That's really interesting. So on leadership then, is there, whether it's definable or indefinable, can you see that even, I don't know, it might be like a more junior, say, engineer joins the team. Is there something you can see, do you think, or do you try to diagnose what that leadership X factor looks like? Is it just insatiable curiosity at the beginning? Are different people suited to leadership maybe for different reasons or routes? Tell me a little bit about because you mentioned it with Carlos, of course. How do you identify it?
And Carlos and Alex, I should say, both. But okay, different traits you're looking for. First and foremost, the best leaders I've worked with are the ones not fearful of being challenged by people more intelligent than them. I've publicly said, I'll say it here again, I'm not the most intelligent person in Williams. I know how to point us the right way, but I'm not the most intelligent person. My job is to go and hire the most intelligent people. And my job as well, and this will sound perhaps slightly odd, but as I wear the Williams shirt, I wear it with pride. But it's not mine to keep. It is mine to put into a better place and mine to find a structure that enables to take over in time from that, such that I pass on to future generations. So the result of that is my job, therefore, as a leader, is to employ better individuals than I am that are pushing me daily into me also being a better individual. And in time, one of them will succeed simply because they're too good to not as a result of it. And if you build that up, so if I take you through how we structure the organization, about 1,100 people, over 120 are early careers. So the very few organizations out there, in my experience, that have nearly over 10% of their workforce that are early careers. Why? I don't want success that's today necessarily. I'd love success that's today, but I'm here to build a team that is successful in 5-10 years. To do that, you invest in your graduates, those at university, apprentices, that will be basically the next backbone of this organization for the next 10-15 years. And one of those, I hope, is a leader that takes over as the result of things. And my job in all of that is to create the construct that allow the really great individuals to fly within our organization. They shouldn't be held back by paperwork, by age. They should be allowed to fly and go at the speed they want to. So what qualities are you looking for? Same thing. They need to empower others around them. They can't be effectively all about themselves. It's actually about the empowerment. They have to be not fearful of employing more intelligent people than they are in return. Conversely, as a scale of things, you can see how an organization builds very quickly. They have to be curious. They have to be intelligent naturally. They have to be able to accept that their opinion is often wrong. Mine is. But I'm fantastically proud to have around me is individuals who are good at presenting their view. And you go, that's fine. Let's go this way. And so it's not one trait. And I don't think I'm necessarily the best leader that exists in the world either. So I'm just using the traits that are good to me. The next one is probably now to the really important bit. You have to be authentic. This is not a facade. This has to be you. You put any facade on it, it'll be broken down in time. Could be 1 year, could be 10 years. It will be broken down in time. You have to believe in what you're doing with all your heart. because ultimately that's what's going to drive you on every single day when things get tough. And when things get tough is where your true personality comes out. And if you're not authentic, you'll be there straight away. So it's that belief and authenticity that I believe I carry, and that's the strength that I have.
Is it trickier to be authentic in a world, and also in a sport in particular, where not only there's so much scrutiny, but there's so much scrutiny through the sort of media prism? Obviously, we've had the sort of all-access docs, the F1 film. I bet you pop up in that, don't you, James?
I've got a tiny bit in that, yeah.
Well, no, it was noticed. But also social media and all the rest. We know about the benefits, and it's great, and you can showcase fun stories, and you can help your partners who are with you on the journey. But there's an attendant challenge, which is, it is this scrutiny, it's high stakes. That is short-termism in a way that's anathematic to your longer-term approach. Does it, be honest with me, and look, I'm a journalist asking you a question, but sometimes do you just wish you could turn those taps off and just get on with the job? Or are you more sanguine about it?
I'm more impressed by the athematic. Well done. Okay, here's the best I can answer it. I accept that my life and work are completely intertwined. You treat it like a corded rope. They're completely wrapped around each other. There's nothing, you can't separate them. They're one entity. Me as a team principal, as me as an individual at the same time. It's what I meant by the authentic bit, because you are the same human being irrespective out of it. I'm very happy and confident in what I'm doing, which creates confidence, therefore, for my family and creates elements outside. Everyone will have an opinion. That's their job, to have an opinion. Mine is to make sure that I'm true to myself and true to what I believe in, and not be too swayed by anything else, unless it's leaders around me telling me all that I'm wrong. No, I'm okay with where it is, because it makes the team successful, it makes the sport successful, and ultimately that's what I'm here to do. But you've got to accept that it's an intertwined problem that you can't get rid of until such point as it terminates and ends, which is obviously a tragic way to think about it. That the next bit is being candid about it. Me as an individual, I would describe myself as quiet. I'd happily sit at home, read a book, that would be watch a film. That's me. But that's not our life. Our life is, I'm off to the F1 movie premiere and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great. But you'll be in the limelight in front of tens of thousands of people, maybe more. But that's the life that comes with it.
Mm. You seem very, very sort of relaxed about it. Although, I don't know, if there's a race. Well, look, it's gone very well this season. You've married up your points from the last, is it 3 seasons already better this?
Yeah, that's
pretty good, right?
Best points since 2016. It's a very good.
It's incredible, but, and not to throw it, to put any dampeners down, but, you're going to have frustrations and things that aren't going to work out. You don't have that temptation to just get away from it. You just straight back to the coalface always. Can you can retain the focus, even in the face of frustration like that?
So there's a moment last year where we did a piece to camera. I was sitting in my chair in my office, and you'll see it in my eyes, there's pain there. That was last year after Brazil, after we smashed 3 cars, did 2 chassis, did tens of £1 million worth of damage. At the end of a season where we've had our, not in terms of performance, but our worst season in terms of crash. No one had the amount of crashes we had last year. It's an unsustainable amount for any team. We're in a cost cap, and every crash basically kills you, kills future development as well. And that's probably the only time where I think I reflect on what we've done, and you'll see the pain in my eyes, because it hurt. It really did hurt. As an impact of me personally, where I went, Jesus, there's a lot of energy. You need to pick yourself up every day. And not just yourself. You need to pick up 1,100 people that are feeling the same pain you are as well around you. Answering your question, yes, I have frustration after bad races. But what I've learnt in time is take a bit of time. And by a bit of time, I mean half an hour, to be pissed. Because frankly, that's the emotion that drives you on, that wants you to be stronger next weekend, the weekend afterwards. But my job in all of this is to bring the team up to a new level of strength. And everyone will feel that low. And you can start, and what I've noticed, and it's really true, is if you start with the right attitude, that doesn't mean put it by the side. Learn from everything we've done wrong, but treat it the right way. You suddenly bring a number of individuals with you on that journey straight away. And if you don't, no one will. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, I like that. Where does this adventure go, James? Because, your goals are pretty clear and you're actually very explicit about wanting to compete, and you've got a team, we can see it already, where we're starting to see, the fruits of the talent acquisition, the curiosity, the hunger. Do you have to be disciplined about saying this season and then next, and there's a 3-year plan and a 5-year plan? It sounds like you've got a 10-year, a lifetime, a legacy ambition. How do you make sense of the time ahead? Because you can tell that you've got these ambitions that might be a decade in the realising. So how do you keep that structure around your thinking?
I don't believe in any short-termism. Any short-termism will just fail. And even, I'll be completely clear, at the cost of my role, I'm not going to go short-term because it's not right for Williams and its future. And so because I'm driven so aggressively by that, I'm actually not swayed by the short-term nearly at all. I'll explain the nearly in a second. There is a way of being swayed by it. I can see the potential in the business. I can see where we need to be, and I can see how we can get there. So everything drives me on to that long-term vision. There's a but to it. If you took the race team, for example, fantastic group of individuals, most of the impact they can have is executing the race weekend well. There's some items that I always ask them to think about. Think about how you're going to make this more automatic, more in the future, less doing manual work, and feed that back into a loop to make sure that we keep improving as a team. But I'd probably describe that 95% of what they're doing is the now, because they have to execute on the weekend. And I can get myself into the same mentality so that all I do is create structure whereby I'll guarantee you I want every point we can. But as I'm talking to you now, everything is for the future. It is only when we turn up that I'll go into, let's get everything I can out this weekend. And then half an hour after the race, if I'm frustrated, a minute after the race, if I'm not, right, now we've got to sort out what we're doing for our future effectively. So it is a little bit Jekyll and Hyde. And it depends who you are within the organisation. There's some people that really can impact on the 3 and 5 years. There's some people that can impact on the now. And they can't do much the 3 and 5 years. And all I ask them to do is when they're outside of it, put focus on it. So answering your question, it's trying to split my mindset between that.
Very elegantly put. Just finally, look, Williams, we mentioned it at the top, only the third team principal, obviously 40-something years, obviously, with Frank and all the rest of it. A family team, and obviously some of the narrative around the buy-in, it's not a family business anymore, but the way you talk about it, it sounds like a family. Is that important to you, and how confident are you that, I guess, the idea almost, this is a bit of a funny abstract question, but the sort of the idea of Williams, it will be the same and will endure, it will change and it will continue to be successful, but is it important to you that it is still a sort of a family, maybe an occasionally dysfunctional one, but it's still a family? It's not the family, but it's a family. I don't know. Are you confident that will be the case for time evermore?
Whilst I'm here, yes. So I'm incredibly fortunate. So Frank created a lot of the culture they have, which is passionate individuals that want success. And if you look at Williams in its past, it's always been an independent, near enough entity. And that's what I loved about it. I mean, for transparency, it's the first team I followed. I fell in love with it. Fell in love with it because it was unique. It stood out. It had nothing shackling it. This is how I perceived it anyway. It would challenge everyone. It would challenge the giants. It's David and Goliath, if you like. That's how I just pictured it. That's my mindset on it. And that culture, a lot of that culture still remains, which is fantastic and fortunate. And that's who we are. And I don't want to lose any of that portion of it. We are an entity that will do what it takes to get the job done. Doesn't always necessarily mean we had at the past the same tools around us, but we're creating tools around us now that provide that strength. But I love walking into work every single day. I love looking at the how people are around our organisation, and they're happy. When I joined there, it was strange. There was barely anyone able to make eye contact, heads down, shoulders down. I use body language because it's the best way to explain it. Now you walk around there, and I have individuals that are proud every single day to come in, and I love coming in there. And that environment is only created by what you've described.
That was James Vowles, team principal for Atlassian Williams Racing, and you can find out more by heading to williamsf1.com. And that is all for this episode of The Entrepreneurs. We'll be back at the same time next week. Do look out for Eureka, which drops every Friday. The Entrepreneurs is produced by Laura Kramer with audio editing by Jack Dewars. You can listen again and find out more about the show at monocle.com, or you can follow us and catch up with the archive wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to get in touch with the team, email Laura on lrk@monocle.com. I'm Tom Edwards. Goodbye, and thanks for listening to The Entrepreneurs. Are you building something better? So are we. This September, Monocle's Quality of Life Conference brings together founders, creatives, and change makers for 3 days of smart conversation, big ideas, and generous hospitality.
From the future of cities to people-first leadership, we'll explore what it means to build with purpose and live well. Find out more and book your seat at monocle.com/conference.